This conference will now be recorded.
Starting from the leaching. So we have discussed extensively in mass transfer 1 and mass transfer 2 the number of unit operations, and if you carefully observe all the mass transfer operations, you can identify one common thing in all the cases, whatever diagrams which you are drawing. So these diagrams are having one the feed phase, and another is uh, the separating agent phase. So usually the separating agent phase, the qualities are taken on y-axis. The qualities of the feed phase will be taken on x-axis in all the diagrams, whichever diagrams you draw, and whatever you define, the quality may be in certain cases mole fractions or mole ratios or weight fractions or weight ratios. So if you generalize the mass transfer operations, one can understand that simply they can be described by using these design diagrams, maybe McCarthy diagram or HXY diagram or NXY diagram, whatever may be. So the general analysis is very much required if at all the new mass transfer operations, which is equilibrium bound operation, is identified. You may identify in a coming days, because now so many innovations are happening, and you can also find out a new operation, and which may be based on some property. You can able to separate the components, but keep in mind that that can be designed and analyzed by using these design diagrams. So that is a very important aspect. Okay, so all of you please carefully understand the concept of the mass transfer operations, which are specifically equilibrium bound operations, in this manner. Then only you can do the process calculations and also develop the equipment also very easy if you just generalize the operation mechanism. Okay, so whatever that, and now so far we have discussed the gas liquid operations and liquid gas operations and vapor liquid operations, then the liquid liquid operations. Now let us see the solid liquid operations. So in solid liquid operations, it is very important that the many places you can see that in a process industry, the product is the solid phase. If the solid phase is obtained as a the final product, then it has some of the impurities, or if it has some of the byproducts, then to purify the solid product which is obtained, will be washed with either solvents or water. In most of the cases, so water is a common solvent. You can wash the byproducts by using the water if uh, the impurities or byproducts which are there in the solid products are soluble in the water. Otherwise, you have to select another liquid solvent so that they can be dissolved in that, get separated. So this is the one application of the solid liquid operations. In another operation is that these you find many natural products, like plant various parts like leaves, stems and roots. So these plant parts will have some medicinal valued chemicals. So these can also be separated by using appropriate solvent. So this is another application of the solid liquid operations. And you have a plenty of such applications. You know, the beetroot will have a sugar, so that you can use hot water to separate sugar from the beetroot. So they will be boiled in the water at a temperature which is less than the boiling point of the water, so that the sugar which is there in the beetroot will dissolve in the water and get separated. Then later you can subject it to the evaporation, crystallization, so that finally you'll get the sugar crystals. And similarly, you can also take another example. The edible oil will be there in the various grains. Maybe you can take the soya bean or groundnut or any seeds also. Some oil seeds also will have the edible oil. So these edible oil can be removed by using the solvent, and that is also comes under the solid liquid operations. And you can also see in metallurgical industry, the solid liquid operations plays a vital role in
Hello, sir.
getting
Sorry to
separated
interrupt
of
you, sir.
metals.
Hello,
Yeah,
sir.
please. Please.
Sorry. So you are
Yeah,
presenting only first page, sir.
uh,
You are only presenting first page, sir, not.
yeah. I have not gone to the next pages. Wait a while. This is the first
Okay, sir.
slide only I am presenting. Okay. I'll go to the next slide. Okay.
Sir, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm still explaining the introduction. Okay. So if you just see the metallurgical industry, there, metals are extracted by using the solid liquid operations. And this is also very important in extracting very important or value added metals like gold and palladium and platinum. So these metals which are there in the ore cluster, which is surrounded by a lot of insoluble material, so it is very difficult for us to separate from the that. So you can use some of the solvents, maybe acids, or sometimes you can prepare your own liquid mixture of different acids, so that can be used to separate the metals. So you can now understand that the solid liquid operations are usually employed for two purposes. The first one is for getting washed out, means getting removal of the impurities. And the second is the getting the very value added chemicals or metals which are there in the insoluble materials. Like you can biological applications also comes under that. So these two applications we do in a solid liquid operations. Usually here, after explaining the interaction of this thing, you can understand that in the solid liquid operations which we are discussing there, the solid phase is the feed phase and the liquid phase is the separating agent phase. So then you have to also derive an equipment which will be getting dispersed the solid in the liquid, and then once the solid is dispersed in the liquid and the dissolution or whatever solubles are there, those solubles are dissolved in the liquid. Then once this completed, you have to separate the solid and liquid. So as we discussed in the liquid extraction, here also the feed phase should be properly dispersed or mixed in the liquid. Then it has to be effectively separated by using another equipment. So it is a combination of the two equipments. Like you can say that mixture and settlers. The mixture would be slurry mixture, because the liquid is getting the mixed with the solid phase. In fact, the solid dispersion in the liquid is very difficult. So usually we use agitators to mix the solid in the liquid with the turbine type of impellers. So you just see that equipment part later, but initially let us discuss the principles. So as we were discussing, leaching is this is called the solid liquid operation is usually called the solid liquid extraction. Like liquid extraction, we can also call as a solid liquid extraction or leaching. So leaching is solid liquid operation. So leaching term is given to leach out the solubles from the liquids, and that get separates. So leaching is a solid liquid operation. In the leaching, there will be two phases, which will be intimate contact. The solutes can diffuse from the solid to the liquid phase, which causes a separation of the components originally in the solid. So the components which you want to separate, they are originally in the solid. And also a special leaching process when an undesirable component is removed from the solid with water. So that is also called washing. So this washing is the special leaching process, and which is also having a very good importance in the process industries, because in alkali industries particularly, you get the solid products. So those solid products are in terms of the powders or certain cases granulars. So those will be washed with usually water. So how many stages of washing is required to bring down to the content of the solute, that is a pollutant in the product? So that is very important problem in the process industry, yeah, specifically in alkali industry. Okay, then these are the applications. As I told, it is used in the biological and food processing industries. That is the separation of the sugar from the sugar beets with hot water, the extraction of the oils from the peanuts, soya beans, sunflower seeds, cotton seeds. So that is also an example. Also in pharmaceutical industry, many products are obtained by leaching plant roots, leaves and stems. And in the metals processing industry, leaching is used to remove the metals from their ores, which contains many undesirable constituents as solute salts. So salts are usually washed out with the acids in the metal processing industry. For example, if you take the gold leaching, so gold is leached from its ore using an aqueous sodium cyanide solution. So the sodium cyanide solution concentrations are maintained such that the maximum gold can be removed. Okay. So coming to the principles of leaching, what we should see that when the solid phase and the liquid phase are in contact, and one inert phase, which is the the solid structure. For example, if you take any plant root and all, and if you cut it and you make into the slices, so the solutes are usually surrounded by insolubles. So what should happen usually when the liquid is contacted with the solid phase? Either liquid has to diffuse through the inert phase and enter into the soluble phase and get dissolved in it, and then we can separate it, or otherwise it has to diffuse, because if it is not penetrating through the porous structure of the insolubles, it may diffuse through the it may diffuse through the insolubles and reaches to the solubles, and the solubles will get dissolved and all. So usually the solubles are covered with the insolubles. So certain solid preparation is also required before contacting them. So the solvent must be transferred from the bulk solvent solution to the surface of the solids. And next, the solvent must penetrate or diffuse into the solids. The solute then diffuses through the solid solvent mixture to the surface of the particle. Finally, the solute is transferred to the bulk solution. So the rate of the solvent transferred from the bulk solution to the solid surface is quite rapid. So the transfer of the solvent in the bulk solution to the solid surface should be, very quick. Otherwise, the rate of leaching will be affected adversely. However, the rate of transfer of the solvent into the solid can be rather slow or rapid. Thus, this solvent transfer usually occurs initially when the particle are first contacted with the solvent. Okay. Then the rate of diffusion of the solute through the solid and the solvent to the surface of the solid is often controlling the resistance. So the rate of diffusion of the solvent through the inert solids may control the mass transfer operations, or certain cases, the diffusion of the solute, because into the solvent will also sometimes affect the operation. But however, if the solid is made of porous, the diffusion through the porous solid can be described by the effective diffusivity, because the Nordstrom diffusivity will come into the picture whenever there is a porous type of solid is there. So the resistance to mass transfer to the solute from the solid surface to the bulk solvent is generally quite small compared to the resistance to the diffusion within the solid itself. Okay. So here one should understand that we have to make accessible the solute to the solvent such that the resistance through the diffusion can be avoided. That means the inert solids which are there in the solid phase to be maximum, if you remove, that would be better. Only the solute material will be accessible. That so that is not possible. So what we do is we will prepare the solid such that the solute material will surfaced, and that can be access to the solvent to dissolve in it. So the leaching usually depends on the proportion of the soluble constituent present, its distribution throughout the original solid, the nature of the solid, and the original particle size. So these are the three parameters which will affect. One is the original solid, the nature of the solid, and the original particle size. If the soluble material is surrounded by a matrix of insoluble matter, the solvent must diffuse inside to contact and dissolve the soluble material and then diffuse out. So this is a common in leaching metal salts from the mineral holes. In the mineral holes, what will happen? There is a matrix. So the matrix will be surrounded by insoluble matter. So this matrix means there will be solid material, soluble material, also insoluble materials. So these soluble materials will be covered by insoluble matter. Therefore, the solvent must diffuse inside to contact and dissolve the soluble material and then diffuse out. So this will take a lot of time, and also the rate of leaching will affect. So this is common in leaching metal salts from the mineral also. So in such case, what we have to do is we have to ground the material, and which is having solubles and insolubles into the small size. When you make into the small size, and a lot of the soluble material will be surfaced, so that will be very accessible to the solvent, it can dissolve. So in these cases, crushing and grinding of the ores is used to increase the rate of leaching, since the solution portions are made more accessible to the solvent. So this has to do that. And you might have also observed in many villages, and you have the edible oil will be removed while crushing by wetting with the solvent. So that is called wet crushing and wet grinding. So that is called ganuga in Telugu. So what they do is they will add no the solvent again into the edible meal where the edible oil is present. So that will be crushed and grounded by using the some mechanical pressures over it that will be created by some animals. So it will be uh, while wet grinding can be done to remove the edible oil from that. So that is a technique which is usually used in industries also, wherever the effective the removal is required. And also you can see that biological materials are cellular in structure. Cellular in the structure means in the middle you have all the soluble material, and the cell structure will be there over it. So that is not having direct access to the solvent. So uh, biological materials are cellular in structure, and the soluble constituents are inside the cells. Because the cell walls provide another resistance to the diffusion, the rate of leaching may be slow. In this case, the biological materials are cut into thin wedge shaped slices to reduce the diffusion distance of the solvent. So you can make them into the slices before adding into the solvent. So this type of the solid preparation is required in the leaching operation. And in certain cases, you can also see that the solvent will be heated to certain temperature. Then you can add to the solid, so that the solubility of the solute which is present in the solid will increase. And in certain cases, the temperature would be the boiling point of the solvent. So if you heat any solvent to its boiling point and add to the solid, then that particular operation is called decoction operation. We have seen in the preparation of the tea. So tea leaves are usually having the soluble material which is called tea. So you can add uh, the solvent, that is water, by heating to its boiling point to the tea leaves, so that the decoction can be prepared. So this name is given to the industrial operation wherever the solvent is heated to its boiling point and the operation is conducted. So if the leaching operation is conducted at its boiling point of the solvent, then that is called the decoction operation. You please remember that. Okay. Then coming to the, we don't want to know what would be the mass transfer coefficient and what would be the contacting pattern. All these things are we usually, because we have studied initially the mass transfer theories, but later on, while you are going through the many operations, mass transfer operations, particularly absorption and extraction and the distillation, we have not gone through the mass transfer coefficient, even though mass transfer coefficient is having a very important role in the operation. But what we have seen is that the how fast the equilibrium is attained. So to attain the equilibrium, the mass transfer coefficient plays a vital role. So that's why we have removed, we have neglected the mass transfer coefficients in the analysis, but we have considered the equilibrium, how fast the equilibrium is attained. So usually what we do in all equilibrium bound operations, once these phases are added, then we will wait till equilibrium is attained. So that is called ideal operation. So ideal operation or a theoretical operation or an equilibrium operation. So equilibrium operation means you should see that the equilibrium should attain. So you should give the enough time to reach the equilibrium between the feed phase and separating agent phase. So that's why the equilibrium, that's why the mass transfer coefficients are not considered in many of the cases. Otherwise, you see, based on the mass transfer coefficients also, you can analyze the operation. So that will be giving a very good, the very effective design in case of the equipment. But here to understand you generally the principles of leaching, then what we understand is that there is a two phases, the solid phase and the liquid phase. Both the phases are made in contact by using a device, and finally the equilibrium has been attained in case of the soluble material concentration between the phases of feed and separating agent, that is the solid and liquid phases, and finally the equilibrium phases are separated. So this is a usual convention, and we use this one to calculate the ideal stage requirements. So we assume that finally the equilibrium has been attained and we remove that. For example, if you take this round, so this round indicates two devices, two unit operations. One is a mixture and another is settler. So solids to be leached will be added to this, and along with that some solvent, that is a leaching solvent, will be added to the this is a mixture, and they are thoroughly mixed and they are allowed to reach the equilibrium. And once the equilibrium is attained, then we will separate into the two different phases. What are the two different phases which we can separate? One is the leaching solvent. The solvent will be separated as a clear liquid. So that is called a leaching solvent. And then the remaining solids which are wet with the solid will be separated as a slurry. So those are called leached solids. So leaching solvent and leached solids are separated. So this will definitely contain some of the solute mass. So you can calculate the concentration of the solute in the initial leaching solvent and final leaching solvents. So those are the clear liquids. And then we can also have this. Usually the clear liquid will be obtained as a overflow. So we can call it as an overflow streams. Leaching solvent and leaching solvent input and output are called the overflows. And in the settler and all the equipment, the solids along with some solvent will be settled down. So this is called underflow. So you have these notations. B is the mass of insoluble solids, and F we will consider only the A plus C. The C is the soluble material which is present in the solids. So this C, adding the C with the solvent which you are adding here, so that is called mass of F. So usually if the dry solids are added initially, then it may have only C. It doesn't have any A. So F is equal to the content of C which is present in the solids which are soluble in the liquid. So similarly, you can all use NF, YF. These are the mass fractions based on the um, insoluble solids, and this is the soluble solid mass fractions. So these are the certain parameters which we have to find out, and finally we do the material and energy balance, material balance, and you will find out the required parameters. So I have written here, you see, where C is the solute and A is the solvent and B is the solid. B solid means which is the insoluble solid. C solute means which is the soluble solid. You can also understand in that way. Okay. So if you just define here, let B is the insoluble solid or inert solid in kgs, C is the soluble solute kg, and A is the pure solvent kg. Then you can find out X, that is the weight of the solute divided by the pure solvent plus the soluble solute. So that will give the X. And please keep in mind that while you are calculating the X, we are not considering the B, weight of the B. That's why these are called on solid free basis. That means B free basis. B is the insoluble solid. So on solid free basis, X and Y also to be found out. X indicates the weight fraction of the solute in the effluent stream. What do you mean by effluent stream? Effluent stream is the liquid stream which is a clear liquid, and Y is the weight fraction of the solute in the solid or slurry or sludge, because after the settling all the solids, so it will be either slurry or sludge. So you can calculate the B on solid free basis. So Y is equal to C by A plus C in the slurry phase. So this is the liquid phase, this is the slurry phase. We will not get the pure or a dry solid here, because once you are wet with the solvent, then it is very difficult to dry during the operation. So we will consider this slurry phase and the clear liquid phase. So n is equal to, you can calculate n is equal to B by A plus C. In each phase you can find out either in the clear liquid phase. If the clear liquid phase the filtration is 100%, then you don't have a B, so n is equal to 0. In the slurry phase, n will present a maximum value. In the liquid phase, n will be 0 or a small value may present, because certain insoluble solids, due to the inefficient filtration, they will go along with the liquid phase. So n value will be either low or the maximum. So the variation of n, x and y under the different conditions are as follows. For example, if you take for a dry solid, so free from solvent, you can find out n is equal to B by C. If the solid is very dry, for the first time you are adding in the first stage, then n will become only the weight of the inerts divided by the weight of the solute present in the dry solid. So A is equal to 0 because no A is there in the dry solid. Once you wet with the solid, once you wet this dry solid with the solvent, then it will become a slurry. So A will be present. Otherwise, A is equal to 0. In that case, N is equal to B by C, and Y is equal to, because here there is no A, so the Y value will be C by C, because A is 0, then Y will become 1. So for example, if it is given the dry solid is added, then you should say that N is equal to B by C and Y is equal to 1. And similarly, solid free from solvent and solute. If you are having a solvent solid free, then N will become infinite. N will become very high value because it doesn't have any solute, it doesn't have any solvent. So A is 0 and C is 0, both are 0, then N will become infinite. So solid free from solvent and solute. If somebody says that solid is free from solvent and solute, then N will become infinite. So this will be happening, this condition will be happening when you could able to remove the complete solute, and also you could able to dry the solid without any solvent. So such case never occur, but if it is there, then N will become infinite. Okay. And similarly, pure solvent, if you take the pure solvent, then X is equal to 0. Why X is equal to 0? Because it doesn't have any C is not there, so X is equal to 0. C is equal to 0, and also it doesn't have any B also, because it's a pure solvent, 100% solvent, no inert solids also there in that. So N is equal to 0 because B is equal to 0. So for pure solvent case, X is equal to 0, N is equal to 0. For solid free from solvent and solute, N is equal to infinite. For dry solid, N is equal to B by C, Y is equal to 1. You please remember these conditions while you are solving the. So usually we know that in the case here, the equilibrium is the final operation, because most of the cases, in a batch leaching operations, when the solid and solvents are added, finally they reach the equilibrium. So equilibrium means it should be related the feed phase concentration with the liquid phase, feed phase concentration with the solvent phase concentration. That means solid phase concentration should be related with the liquid phase concentration. So we are having here the solid phase is a slurry phase and the liquid phase is the clear liquid phase. So you can see that Y and X should have some relation at the end. That means this Y and this X should have some relation. So this relation can be developed by the equilibrium considerations, because it is also an equilibrium bound operations. So usually we have three different type of equilibriums. So when the solid phase and the liquid phase are in contact, then you can see that the solute will be first dissolving into the liquid, and then you will make a solution, and this solution will wet the solid. So what happened initially, the solution which is there in the slurry phase and the solution which is obtained as a clear liquid, both will have the same concentrations. So if there is no adsorption of the solute back into the solid phase, so if that is there, then you find there is a difference between the Y and X. Otherwise Y should be equal to X. Therefore the type 1 is characterized by these things. One is the preferential adsorption of the solute occurs on the solid. Once the solute is dissolved in the solvent, then the inert solid will adsorb. You know what is the adsorption? Adsorption is the back reaction, back mass transfer operation. That means the liquid is having certain solute. That solute will get dissolved, will adhere onto the solid surface. So that may happen due to the intramolecular forces. Once the solute is dissolved in the liquid, so it will come back onto the solid. If that happens, then you can call it as the preferential adsorption. If the preferential adsorption of the solute occurs on the solid, solute is soluble in the solid and distributes unequally between the liquid and solid phase at equilibrium. Whatever C is there, the C distributes unequally between the liquid phase and the slurry phase. So that may happen. So insufficient contact time between the solute and solvent will give this type of diagrams. One diagram is N versus XY. So you can draw the N. N is you can understand what is the N? Weight of B divided by weight of A plus C in the liquid, and weight of B divided by weight of A plus C in the slurry. So both can be drawn here. One is N versus Y and then another is N versus X. Then if you draw X versus Y, then you have this type of diagram which is analogous to the HXY diagram. And here N is analogous to the enthalpy and XYs are analogous to the vapor phase composition and liquid phase composition. Similarly, here solid phase composition and the liquid phase composition. So you may get this type of tie line. So this tie line means you have this much of Y solute in the slurry phase and this much of solute in the liquid phase. So that can be represented by using this one. That means if you have any mixture point, that will be divided into the two different end points. One is a this is called a effluent, and another is F, this is called a slurry. Slurry is a underflow, and this is a overflow. So overflow will have this much concentration, underflow will have this much concentration. So you can find out the, here you can see once the solute is dissolved in the liquid phase, so it has got certain adsorption back. So that's why you find Y is greater than X. So once X increases to certain level, then it decreases due to the adsorption. This is the type 1 equilibrium diagram. In the type 2 equilibrium diagram, so you can see there will not be any adsorption. Means once the solute is dissolved in the solvent, it will not be come back to the solid phase. So there is no adsorption at all. The solution withdrawn and the solution associated with the solid to make the slurry have the same composition. Means the clear solution which is withdrawn and also the solution which is associated with the slurry in the slurry phase, both will have the same concentration. That means X is equal to Y. X is equal to Y will happen. So tie lines are typically become vertical in this case, and the solids are drained to the same content at all the solute concentrations, and such a condition is known as constant underflow condition. Here, since the concentrations are always same, so you can call it as this condition is constant underflow condition. So no B is present in the solution, either dissolved or suspended. So this will happen. For example, I'll give you one example. You just take the sand and add on to the salt, or it's a sugar solution, and the sand, sugar crystals and sand are added and made as a mixture. So they are now by using any other technique, it cannot be separated except by washing. So how do wash? If you want to wash, because let us say this solid phase is dry. Which solid phase? The solid phase which is having sugar crystals and sand. So this is the dry one. So when you add water to it, then what will happen? This will become wet and it will be made as a slurry. Even though it is slurry, some of the sugar is distributed among the liquid, and it will dissolve into the liquid, and that same liquid solution which is having water and sugar will make the sand wet. Now that is in the slurry form. Then you keep that in the settler, that means in for sedimentation. Just wait some time so that you will get a slurry phase at the bottom, and the water, clear liquid water solution at the top. If you separate that water, and that water will have certain sugar, and similarly whatever water is there in the slurry, because it is not only the sand, it is also containing some solution of the water which is having again water and sugar. So that sugar solution and the solution which you have separated will have the same concentration, because the sugar is having no adsorption onto the sand. Because of this nature, it will be equal. That is called constant underflow condition. In that, the X value is be equal to the Y value. So you will not find the XY curve. XY curve will be a now straight line that will be 45 degrees diagonal line. In all the cases, your X is equal to Y. For example, if you add a less sugar, then at a lower concentration, again X is equal to Y. If you add more sugar at more concentration, X is equal to Y will happen. And whereas in the this case, if you take for example this edible oil, a soybean oil is separated by using the hexane from the soybean meal, then what happens? Once the oil is dissolved into the hexane, then it makes certain concentration. Then while settling the meal, soybean meal, some of the oil molecules which are there in the hexane solution, they will be getting adsorbed back onto the meal. They will get adhered to the solid surface, inert solid surface. Therefore, in the slurry, the concentration of the edible oil increases, whereas in the liquid hexane, the edible oil concentration will be less. So that makes this type of equilibrium diagram. So this is the type 1 equilibrium diagram where preferential adsorption is there, and this is the type 2 equilibrium diagram where there is no adsorption. Okay, so that is how you will get two type of diagrams. Then there is a third type of equilibrium diagram which will be obtained. Uh, Here the characteristic of this diagram is solute C has a limited solubility. So XC, because see, it is having enormous solute, but all the solute is not getting dissolved into the solvent because it has got a limited solubility. Because of that only, always in the liquid phase, the S value results. This is the excess value. So up to this, you have a vertical diagram. So after that, you will find this type of diagrams. So solute C has a limited solubility in solvent A, and one can never have a clear solution stronger than XC. So excess, the concentration value, weight fraction value of excess cannot increase. You cannot get the stronger solution than the excess. So the value will be always lesser than excess or equal to excess. So tie lines joining the slurry and the saturated solution converge as shown. They converge like this at excess. Okay. Till the concentration of excess is reached, the solution retained in the solid and the clear solution have some concentration, and hence the distribution coefficient is unity up to the tie line Fe. No adsorption of the solute occurs. But here also there is no adsorption, but limited solubility is there. The tie line to the right of Fe indicates the same solute concentration in a clear solution, but a different solute concentration slurry as indicated by point G and H. In practice, we come across the situation which will fall in any one of the above three types. So you can get any one of the three type of, for example, if you take a solute which is at room temperature having a limited concentration, solubility in the water, so you cannot exceed that value. So in that case, you will get type 3 type of equilibrium. So any one of the equilibrium may result. So we can use based on the system which equilibrium diagram is applicable to this one. So we'll stop here for some time. Okay.